Avenue, and then we'll take it higher.
The Game Sports Show is pleased to shout out a partner, additional home, and sponsor to Northern Superior Brewing Company, located on 50 Pym Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Northern Superior Brewing Company having a strong presence locally with many beers to offer. With much involvement in the community of Sault Ste. Marie, Northern has a sport and friendly-like atmosphere within its tap room, and during the summer months, it is a must to visit Pier 55 to enjoy some delicious food, amazing view of the water, and view of the Bush Pulling Museum, right on the cusp of the Hub Trail, and of course, all of that down with a delicious brew from Northern Superior. Northern Superior Brewing Company. It's a northern thing.
Booyah! It's time for the Game Sports Show. It's yours truly, David McKeag, and we're here Thursday, October the 11th, 2018, live from Northern Superior Brewing Company in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, and you're listening to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show on thegamesportshow.podbean.com or on the website www.thegamesportshow.com or on the YouTube channel titled Scott Mason. And we appreciate you coming on by and making us a part of your night here on the Game Sports Show. I'm going to be alongside Justin Heichel here live on location today. I'm going to bring him on in just a few moments. As usual, we have an action-packed show here from Northern Superior Brewing Company where we're going to be discussing hockey from a local front for the Sioux Thunderbirds, the NOJHL, and also with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, and that'll be after the first break. Then after the second break, myself and Justin will be talking about the National Hockey League with updates around the season that's basically still just getting underway, and the Toronto Maple Leafs absolute power play being absolute fire, and just the National Hockey League in general. Maybe we'll talk about a little bit of Gritty, the Philadelphia mascot, who has definitely taken over the National Hockey League in popularity. Came in like a wrecking ball last game, but the Philadelphia Flyers definitely got eaten by the Sharks, and a lot of just give you some updates and reactions on some recent games and news in the National Hockey League. And we're also going to be talking about the Major League Baseball playoffs. The Boston Red Sox defeating the New York Yankees. Milwaukee moving on. You got the Dodgers. It's going to be a very exciting finish and some unpredictable playoffs it has been for sure in the major leagues. And we're also going to conclude the show by talking about the Khabib and Conor McGregor fight that I'm going to let Justin Heichel really spearhead, as that really got out of control in the octagon after Khabib took out Conor McGregor to win the title. Now, without further ado, let's bring in the guy who is here right now with me, wearing Toronto Maple Leafs sweater, looking sharp. I came in really a dress attire clothes. Now I really dress down so I can kind of really get back into the casual side of things, but Justin's now wearing the best merchandise in the room, and he's got a good hat on as always. His beard's looking nice and cleaned up, and you know what, he's has a smile, and he's holding Northern Superior Brewing product in his hand, and the beer that he's holding in his hand is the Red Maple product, and with Northern Superior Brewing Company, that was released earlier a few months ago in the summer, and it's an absolute delicious brew. You got to give it a try, and pretty soon you're gonna have another brew to try, and that is the Game Ale that has actually been brewed a couple days ago and is in production right now and is planned to be released on its expected date by the beginning of November. Without further ado, Justin, while you have that last sip of beer, how you doing, my friend?
Not bad. Nice to be back. A week of hockey under our belts now. Obviously, some goals being scored. I mean, the Habs game really surprised me. I thought Montreal, this is going to make me cringe to say this, but Montreal looked pretty good. They looked fast.
Yep.
And they looked like they had a group of young forwards that were desperate to make an impression.
Yeah.
And, that might trail off as the year goes on, but it's nice to see that we might have some worthy opponents.
Yeah,
and I don't mean that in the cocky sense that I think the Leafs are going to roll everyone. I think we've got some problems that are pretty evident early on, but it's nice to see that the teams we harped all summer are looking a little better than expected. Even Ottawa, like Shabbat, looked unreal for them so far this week too.
Yeah, definitely been the National Hockey League that we're going to get to in our last part of the show, and definitely a lot of things to talk about there from that front, because the National Hockey League has been full of surprises, I think. It's just like it has been in the Major League Baseball playoffs. And also, one thing that's a surprise, but a very exciting surprise, with the Ducks wearing the old school logo. It's been a great, I like to say great, and people at work know I like to say that, a few weeks here in the world of sports for sure. And basketball is just around the corner as well. Obviously on basketball, we do not talk about it on the Thursday show. That is on the Wednesday edition of the Game Sports Show that you can hear in previous editions. Myself and Jamie Antonello were live on location yesterday from Sports Center Bar and Grill with their famous In the Pocket segment. We only did talk about football last night in terms of local and professional football. We did not have an opportunity to get to a roundtable discussion of basketball. We'll make sure we make up for that next week. And we also have an edition of the Game Sports Show from Monday earlier this week with Scott Butch, and EJ, as yours truly was not able to make it this past week. And just a friendly reminder, going into next week, we do not have a show from the Wicked Sister, as Scott Nason, whom is our board operator tonight, is actually out of town in Washington, D.C. for work, so he will not be on location at the Wicked Sister next week, so we do not have a show until the following Monday. We will have the panel of 5 next week at Sports Center Bar and Grill. Myself, Justin, Jamie, Dustin, and Matt. We have our first live on location guest from Sports Center Bar and Grill. I know a lot of people find that as a surprise because of the amount of guests that we've had on the show: Paul Maurice, Joe Bowen, Colin Miller, and the list goes on in terms of guests that we've had on the show. But from the Wednesday edition of the show, where we talk football, basketball, and variety of sports, it'll be Mr. Annett. Tom Annett will be coming on location, who's done a fantastic job of football programs in the high school perspective in Sault Ste. Marie. And we also plan to have Intercontinental Inch come on by as well. It's going to be an action-packed show next Wednesday from Sports Center. And next week we will be here at Northern Superior Brewing Company again, but next week will be at around 5:30 next week, as the schedule we will continue to just as the year goes on, as we plan to have 1 week be at 7:15, the following week be at 5 or 6 o'clock, due to some scheduling conflicts for myself, Justin, and Brad, and also Dane when he gets back home. Now, tonight I already say what the agenda is. I say what the future shows are going to be. I have a shout out to our sponsors as well at the show that we will list at the conclusion of the show, but thanks for making all this very possible with the Game Sports Show. And Justin, how about you and I actually finish these beers here? We're going to take a break, and when we come back, Brad Cochimilio is going to come on the show via telephone. We're going to have him for another phone interview, and you can listen to previous editions of the Game Sports Show if you just scroll down on the Podbean page, as Brad has been on the phone the last couple times. You know, it's definitely a very busy time for him with the local perspective when it comes to football, when it comes to hockey, and everything getting underway. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hear from Brad Cochimilio here on the Twin Cities' only local regional national sports show, The Game Sports Show. Don't go anywhere.
The Game Sports Show is pleased to shout out a partner, additional home, and sponsor to Northern Superior Brewing Company, located on 50 Pym Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Northern Superior Brewing Company having a strong presence locally with many beers to offer. With much involvement in the community of Sault Ste. Marie, Northern has a sport and friendly-like atmosphere within its tap room, and during the summer months, it is a must to visit Pier 55 to enjoy some delicious food, amazing view of the water, and view of the Bush Play Museum right on the cusp of the Hub Trail, and of course, all of that down with a delicious brew from Northern Superior. Northern Superior Brewing Company. It's a northern thing.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and special edition home to the game, Silver Creek Golf Course, located on 104 Bellow Lake Road, Garden River, Ontario. And also shout out thank you to Silver Creek GM Jamie Henderson. Silver Creek Golf Course has many specials to offer for 18 holes, 9 holes, and even Twilight Deal specials. It does not matter what your level of golf game is, it is a must to enjoy the scenic course, memorable experiences that Silver Golf Course offers. Silver Creek also offers a Thursday wing night for you to enjoy food after a stellar time on the course. You can book your tee time by phone or online at golfsilvercreek.com. Silver Creek Golf Course, where all are welcome to play.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank an additional sponsor and additional home to the Game Sports Show, Sports Center Bar and Grill. Sports Center Bar and Grill, located on 624 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Sports Center rated top sports bar for the second year in a row. At Sports Center, enjoy their famous 75-cent wing night along with delicious Molson products on tap, along with a great atmosphere and other great food options available as well. Sports Center Bar and Grill, the Sioux's best sports bar.
Hi, this is Paul Maurice from the Winnipeg Jets, and you're listening to the Game Sports Show.
Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. Yours truly, David McKaga, alongside Justin Heichel. And like I mentioned before we went to our break, we have a special guest who is no stranger to the show. Obviously, he is on the panel anyway, and he has great hair, great smile. His glasses reflect in pure greatness. He wakes up in the morning and he pisses excellence. I quoted that from Talladega Nights, if anybody wants to know. I love giving him the best intro that I can. The one, the only, Brad Cochimilio. Brad coming in from a phone interview here, so hopefully everything's clear. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, and you know what? It's like I always say, anytime I get an interview or an introduction like that on the show, you know what? It's a good start. It's, you know what? It's a good way to lead into things.
Yeah, it's definitely a good way to kind of get you all locked and loaded and kind of get you, get your spirits up if you've had, I don't know if you've had a bad day, maybe you've had a good day, or just in general, I like to pump you up because you deserve it, my friend.
Well, you know what? Regardless of what's going on, it always makes the day a little bit better to get an intro like that.
Yeah, and when you get an intro like that every time, it's like, okay, Dave, when are you going to stop? I'm never going to stop. Never going to stop giving you that intro. It'd be better if you were here, though, but that'll happen soon enough. I know you're a busy guy. So moving forward, Brad, you and I and Justin are going to talk about the Sioux Thunderbirds. We're going to talk about the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, obviously. The Thunderbirds having that showcase that they started earlier in the week. And obviously the Hounds having some games last weekend, and then I have games at home this weekend back from that road trip. So we're going to talk all about that. And before we even jump into that, I got to say one thing that we saw when we came here to North Superior Brewing Company. I know you didn't probably hear that in the introduction, but the Game Ale is in a jug of getting made over there. It's already, the beginning stage of it, of getting brewed, is completed. Obviously now there's some more tweaks that got to be done and some tasting, but our beer is made, my friend.
Hey, it's an exciting thing. Let's face facts here. It's an exciting opportunity for us, and it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to giving it a try.
Giving it a try, and it's going to be at restaurants as well, and definitely a good, delicious beer that Blake Winter has definitely brewed up. So when you get back here live on location, opposed to doing phone interviews, we'll have some good beer to enjoy here and at restaurants as well. But moving on, Brad, we'll jump right into it. I know you're limited for time. You're a busy guy, and appreciate you coming by and taking the time. Let's jump in right to the Sioux Thunderbirds. The Sioux Thunderbirds lost their first game of the season this past earlier in the week. They played Powassan as when they played on Tuesday, and they lost 4-2. They end up getting a win on Wednesday against the Conquer and Crunch. They're back home this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and of course the Game Sports Show will be present at the Sioux Thunderbird games, along with the Sioux Greyhounds this weekend, but we're talking Thunderbirds right now. Can you talk to us about how Powassan defeated the Sioux? The Powassan's the other powerhouse on the other side of the league, and they seem like that they, being at home ice, maybe gave them a little bit of an advantage, not sure, but they definitely looked pretty good against the Thunderbirds. But also getting a win against Cochrane was a good rebound win for the Sioux to get back in the win column. Talk about the Thunderbirds' recent games.
Yeah, I mean, for the Thunderbirds, I mean, it's not a loss at this point isn't a bad thing. Let's face it, we know this team wasn't going to go unbeaten throughout the regular season. And the showcase was a big event. I mean, this is, at the end of the day, both the Thunderbirds and Powassan wind up losing their first regulation games of the season. Powassan went into the two-day event in Sudbury and had 10 wins, or I believe 9 wins going in. They were something like 9-0-1. So that was a team that's been playing really well. It's a really well put together team by Chris Dawson and the staff there. So that's a team that's real solid there. Usually one of the better teams on the other side. So they're a group that's they're tough to play against. Their goaltending is usually always really solid, and again, I think that was a game against the Thunderbirds that I don't want to say it went as people expected, in the sense that it was it was a tight game, and I think we knew that was going to be probably one of the better games of the event, just because it was two of the league's best, right? You look at the numbers in that game, and it's a situation where both teams were solid. The Thunderbirds had a bit of an edge in shots, but coming in on a real hot streak. So for the Thunderbirds, it's a learning experience. It's for them being a team that's got some guys mixed in. This is a team that had 8 veterans coming back, and still a lot of new faces that are kind of settling in, and that was their first, probably their biggest test of the year thus far. And I would think that John Parker was probably pleased with some aspects of the game, and there were some things where that they're looking at working on, and you go to the next day, you bounce back against Cochrane and you win in the shootout, and that's obviously massive for them, where you come off your first loss of the year, you're looking to see how your team rebounds and how your team, comes back after after a game like that where it's a disappointing result, and they went out and got the job done. So that's the biggest thing for them is they come back less than 24 hours later and come back and pick up an important win. So all in all, I would say it was a successful week. I mean, obviously you want to come out with 2 wins. I mean, it's cliche to say that, but you want to come out with 2 wins. But it was I'm sure it was a productive and a learning experience for for that Thunderbird team coming out of that event.
Yeah, I think for the Thunderbirds, losing to Powassan might put a little bit of perspective as well. People may not look into it that way, but these are the 2 teams that were going into this matchup are going to be evenly matched in a lot of ways. These guys are undefeated. I know Powassan had an overtime loss going into when they played the Thunderbirds, but Thunderbirds losing to Powassan, they learn from their opponent. Still, it's not like the Thunderbirds are going to go undefeated this season, right? That's not what we were expecting. And sometimes a blessing in disguise to lose a game earlier in the season to a team that's very much on your level, right? And I always looked at it as it's not good to lose games, period. You don't like to lose hockey games. I'd like to go 50-some-0 and clean up and sweep everything. But the Thunderbirds, this year, starting off hot and getting that loss, and Powassan's not the end of the world. So, when Powassan, when they come back, they're going to be more prepared. That staff that the Thunderbirds have and those players, that the Thunderbirds have, they're going to be more prepared from when Powassan comes home, because Powassan is definitely a strong team. But anything can happen throughout the course of the season, and obviously when it gets down to nitty-gritty in the playoffs. Now, like you said, against Concord, when you win in a shootout 4-3, the Thunderbirds are back in that win column. They get back into feeling, that little bit more confidence. They didn't lose 2 in a row. They just lost the one. They're back on the winning horse again. Now they have a big weekend against Rayside that has kind of taken over the rivalry between Blind River and the Eagles against the Thunderbirds due to the actions of last year's playoffs that we all know what happened there, and then Cochrane, another game this week at Sunday here in the Sioux. So they definitely got a big weekend ahead to continue to try to keep in the winning column for sure. And Lucas Terrio, I got to give the kid a shout out again, and even Katie McDonald. The kids are looking very good. Tyler Malpass, who was a guest on the show, the team is looking very, very strong and improving each day. And you got to give a lot of credit, don't you think, Brad, to the coaching staff, to the developments of some of these guys like Lucas. And we've talked about Lucas last week on our edition quickly. I mean, before we move on to the Hounds, we got to give credit to the Thunderbirds coaching staff here, don't you think?
Yeah, what I mean, they've done a solid job. I mean, they came in last year and took over a team that had a lot of turnover from the year before, and they've done a good job in that regard in terms of developing players. And we talk about Lucas Terrio. I mean, the kid's been an absolute machine for the Thunderbirds this year offensively, and Noah Bowman's been really good. And this is a team that they always seem to get the job done. They always seem to get the right kids in place to have some success, and this year's no different.
No, definitely not. The Thunderbirds, change a lot of things. Their look, there's a lot of the turnover, like you said, but the one thing that hasn't changed apparently is T-Bot. Now, I know that I still know what that means. As long as those kids still know what that means, I guess I didn't get too old as of yet. But moving on from the Thunderbirds, Brad, we know we can't occupy too much of your time as much as we'd like to keep you on the entirety of the show. You got things to do. And it's Dave McKago alongside Justin Heichel and Brad Cochamilio here live at the Northern Superior Brewing Company. Brad Cochamilio coming in on the phone, so hopefully everything is clear on the listener's end. As you know, we are just perfecting our little communication stuff when it comes to phone recordings. Brad, we're going to talk about the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Last week when we talked, we knew we were going into this weekend. Last weekend when they played Kingston, they played Ottawa, and they played Flint. And they come out of that weekend against those 3 teams to go 2 and. They played Wednesday here. So they played Friday and Sunday. And Friday was in Kingston and Sunday was in Ottawa. So that being away last week and winning in Kingston, losing in Ottawa, and ultimately Wednesday getting the 4-1 win over Flint. The Hounds, that game against Ottawa is kind of the one that I want you to talk about, not even the one against Kingston or against Flint. What happened against Ottawa?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, it's that Ottawa game is a situation where that Ottawa team came out firing, and they it was a night when the Greyhounds were just everything was off. To put it quite simply, and that's a team that I know John Dean said there were points in that game that he was pleased with, but he was also real disappointed with some aspects of that game. And that's a team that they came out and they gave up 4 goals in the first period, and that absolutely killed the team. And he was a little happier with the fact that and it was weird because he actually, and I remember him saying this post game, that aside from the fact they gave up 4 goals, there were points in that first period where he was actually pleased with, which may sound a little strange or a little odd, just on the fact that how could you be happy when you give up 4 goals in in the opening period, but that was a situation where Ottawa, and I remember John saying this, Ottawa capitalized on pretty much every mistake the Greyhounds made in the first period. And there were points where John Dean told me that they lost a lot of battles, which didn't help. And Ottawa was just really sharp in that game. And for the Greyhounds, that's it was a big thing to come back and just get back to business. And it was big for them to come back and get a win Wednesday night over Flint, and kind of get this homestand. They're at home for 6 in a row. It was big for them to bounce back from a tough night in Ottawa, or a tough day in Ottawa rather, and come back and get a better effort in on Wednesday night.
For sure. And one thing that sticks out, I know, quoting Eddie Olszak with this one, but the stat that is most hated in hockey is plus-minus, okay? And Mac Hollowell, -5 against Ottawa, and Jacob Grenier was -5. And a lot of minuses on that board, don't get me wrong. Morgan Frost and Keegan Hoddeshell was -2, and Colin McLean, there's some guys that are obviously -2 in that game, but -5 really sticks out. And did those stats do justice for that type of game? Did those players really stand out that badly, or was it just they're on the ice at the bad time?
Yeah, you know what I mean. It was, that was a situation where it was a tough night for everybody. You look back at that game, and I'm sure everyone to a man on that roster would say that they didn't play well. And I'm sure if you talk to Mac Hollowell and Jacob Laguerre, they're gonna flat out tell you that they wouldn't be pleased with their performance in that game. And at the end of the day, they weren't the only 2 guys that played, that didn't play up to snuff in that game. And again, Mac Hollowell comes back and has a real solid night against Flint. So Morgan Frost was another one who struggled at times against Ottawa, and he came back with his best game of the year on Wednesday night.
Sure did.
So that's a situation where as a group, they were, they weren't good. And it's, again, like you said, plus minus is the hardest stat in hockey in the sense that you can get a minus for being the guy who stepped on the ice because of a bad line change, and the other team scores on it, and you get the minus. You step on the ice after, just as a puck's getting turned over at the blue line, you're stepping on the ice because someone's going off on a line change. That team goes and takes a turnover and scores. All of a sudden, you're -1, and you've been on the ice for 6 seconds.
Yep.
So that's a tough situation. And I'm not defending, these guys in the sense that, they know that they weren't happy with that game. They weren't pleased with the way they played at all, and they came back with a solid effort, on Wednesday. So. The biggest thing for them is just, put that game behind you. And it sounds cliche, but they go and put it behind them. And, you just got to take that game and learn from it. And I think they did.
No, for sure. And a couple more things, Brad, before we let you go. I know we're getting kind of a crunch for time. Barrett Hayton comes with the Hounds, comes back from Arizona, and he gets a goal and 2 assists against Flint, obviously named the first star of the game. And like you said, you have Hollowell, who got an assist in that game, and he also had a very good game, much improved from the weekend. And you also look at Frost, who had 3 points. Native Cole McKay gets a goal as well. It's definitely a good, better game all around by the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, opposed to when they played against Ottawa. But Barrett Hayton coming back. you know, that we're going to talk about Barrett, and we're going to talk about the games this weekend before we let you go. And Barrett Hayton coming back. I know this is something that we discussed earlier a couple weeks ago in the Monday edition of the Game Sports Show at the Wicked Sister that you can hear on the Podbean page on previous episodes, or when you listen to us on 95.1 with all the coverage with the Hounds. We talked about how much of an impact he would be coming back. And obviously, it goes without saying, the 5th overall pick in the draft to come back home come back to where he's placed in the OHL is definitely a huge boost to that lineup with the Hounds.
Yeah, I mean, you know what, that settles them in down the middle. That gives them, you know, 2 legit high-end centers. You know, Wednesday night, Ryan Olahan, Flint's coach, you know, said it best. They get Barrett Hayton returned to them by the Arizona Coyotes, and all of a sudden they have 2 of the OHL's best players in their lineup. You know, that makes a huge difference. Like down the middle, that team's pretty darn dangerous right now. You know, when you look at, you've got Frost and Hayton. You know, your blue line is pretty solid now that you've got everybody back. You've got Hollowell back. You know, you've got an Noe and Sandbrook, and then you look at goal and you've got Matt Malone. So that team down the middle is pretty dangerous. So, you know, that was obviously massive for them getting Barrett Hayton back, and you know, he's a kid who comes back, and you know, last year's playoffs in that Game 2 blowout of Saginaw when he made the fancy move on the Spirit goaltender. You know, that move aside, he's a pretty calm, collected. He's not extremely flashy. Like, he doesn't, you know, when you watch him play, he doesn't necessarily play the sexy game in the sense that, you know, he's not going to make these amazing moves all the time, but he's going to make the easy play. He's going to make the smart play, and you know, that's what you need. And you know, he's a real calming influence. He centered the second line against Flint, and you know, he's going to be a real important piece to this team, you know, this year, and you know, depending on what happens next year as well.
For sure, and having Barrett Hayton back, like I said, very excited. And the Game Sports Show will be at the games this weekend for Friday, 7 o'clock. They play Kitchener at the Memorial Gardens. I'm still going with the Memorial Gardens. I know there's GFL attached to that, but I can't get it out of my head to keep calling it the Gardens. Just say the Gardens. Sunday, 2 o'clock, they play the Battalion, which would be a very good game as well. They play them at 2 o'clock at the Gardens. Now, Justin, you have a question for Brad about this weekend?
Well, first I was going to ask Brad if I had a sexy game.
Well, I mean, that goes without saying. That's just understood.
That was the safe answer. What are we looking at this weekend? Have we got 2 winnable games here, or are we up for a bit of a challenge? What are we looking at?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, that Kitchener game is going to be, you know, isn't going to be easy. You know, that's a Kitchener Hockey Club that's off to a good start this year. You know, they're a team that's, you know, that's solid right through their lineup. You know, they're in a position where they've got guys like Joe Gareffa, who's played real well. Luke Richardson's been really good, you know, in goal for them this year, and you know, they're in a position where, you know, they've got 4 wins through 6 games. You know, and they're just a real solid, well-coached hockey club. Jay McKee's done a real good job with that group. You know, they pick up an import kid in Alexei Lepanov, who's a Tampa Bay third-rounder. Is going to be, you know, should be real solid for them. You know, Chase Campbell's been really good for them. They brought in Holmes and OA. He's an area boy. He's a Waterloo boy. So, you know, he's real solid. Michael Vukovic, who's, you know, highly touted for, you know, the NHL draft, is real solid on the blue line. So this is a Kitchener team that's going to be real solid this year. They're going to be real tough. And, you know, North Bay is kind of in that weird situation. They were here opening weekend of the season, and, you know, kind of got blown out by the Greyhounds. They dropped a 6-0 game here. You know, it's a team that's kind of going through an identity crisis, because they're always, you know, they've always usually been really solid defensively, and this year there have been times where they've had a lot of trouble keeping the puck out of the net. You know, they've given up close to 40 goals in 7 games. So that's a team that's struggled, and, you know, they haven't scored a ton yet. You know, and they're in a weird position in the sense that Stan Butler, who's been with the team since day one when they were in Brampton and stuck with the team through the move to North Bay. He's not coaching right now. He's been sick. He's taken some time away from the bench. So Adam Dennis and Scott Ray are running the bench there. So, they're trying to get things together, and it's been a real struggle here early on. So, but on the other hand, I don't expect North Bay to roll over either. I expect them to at least go in and put a good effort in that game. So, I don't think any game at this level is easy, and it's cliche to say that, but I really truly believe that. And both games should be pretty entertaining. But that Kitchener game, the Friday night game against Kitchener, will be will more than likely be a real exciting one.
Yeah, Friday against Kitchener 7:07. I will repeat, and then North Bay the Battalion here on Sunday at 2 o'clock. And then Wednesday, because we don't record till next Thursday here, we'll discuss the local hockey front in Sault Ste. Marie. The Saginaw Spirit come to town at 7:07, and we know that the Hounds have a little bit of revenge that they definitely want against the Saginaw Spirit. That's Wednesday at the Gardens at 7:07. Brad, Justin, I appreciate you coming on the phone. We will not keep you any longer. I know we'll play it by ear next week if it's going to be another phone interview or if it's going to be an on location. So we appreciate you coming on by and talking to us, pal.
Hey, anytime. I appreciate you guys having me on week by week.
Definitely, week by week. You're part of the staff. Definitely excited to have you on all the time, and obviously with the local hockey presence that you have in town has been a big asset here, and obviously with the Game Sports Show working closely with the NOJHL's Sioux Thunderbirds, also the Eagles, and a little bit with the Blind River Beavers, and also with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. The Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show, providing you all the local updates as necessary on the hockey front here on Thursdays at Northern Superior Brewing Company. Brad, once again, thanks for coming on by. Justin, you and I are going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the National Hockey League and some other bonus topics potentially if we have time. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Game Sports Show on thegamesportshow.podbean.com.
The Game Sports Show is pleased to shout out a partner, additional home, and sponsor to Northern Superior Brewing Company, located on 50 Pym Street in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Northern Superior Brewing Company having a strong presence locally with many beers to offer. With much involvement in the community of Sault Ste. Marie, Northern has a sport and friendly-like atmosphere within its tap room, and during the summer months, it is a must to visit Pier 55 to enjoy some delicious food, amazing view of the water, and view of the Bush Pulling Museum right on the cusp of the Hub Trail, and of course, all of that down with a delicious brew from Northern Superior. Northern Superior Brewing Company. It's a northern thing.
Get Wicked Catering from the crew at the Wicked Sister.
We like to think of ourselves as foodies. While our favorite foods are paired with a beer tasting at the Wicked Sister, you can now have the same creative menu for your next catered business luncheon, family get-together, wedding, or holiday party. Our white truffle risotto appeals to your gluten-free and vegetarian guests. Add sautéed shrimp or freshly grilled chicken for a pop of protein. Or let us build you a custom menu to suit your needs. From plated events of 15 to buffets for 200, the Wicked Sister will cater your event with tapas, snacks, cravables, or a full sit-down dinner.
The Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
The Game Sports Show would like to thank a list of additional sponsors. North Shore Sports and Auto, new location located on 647 McDonald Avenue, Sault Ste. Marie. A family-owned and operated business with doing business in Sault Ste. Marie for over 10 years. Loads of products available for your enjoyment for all seasons. North Shore Sports and Auto, we understand the importance of quality service and products, and we work hard to ensure that all customers have a positive experience before and after each and every sale. North Shore Sports and Auto, meeting all of your new and pre-owned equipment needs. Special thanks to Salon. The Salon, located on 589 2nd Line East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, owned and operated by Mike Cuglietta. Book your appointment today at 705-941-9191 or via online at https://thesalonsioux.as.me-. The Salon, making the Sioux beautiful, one haircut at a time. As well as a shout out to the Superior Pro Shop. The Superior Pro Shop, located inside the Community First Credit Union Superior Arena on 285 Northern Avenue East, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Owned and operated by Jeremy Paquin and ran by Larry Monroe. Superior Pro Shop for over 40 years meet all of your skate sharpening, skate repair, and hockey needs. Also to Discover the Canvas. Discover the Canvas, located on 317 Wellington Street West, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. A beautiful new renovated building owned and operated by expert artist and Sioux native Katrina Thibodeau. Katrina taking her talents of the ink in Sault Ste. Marie and truly creating the best and most realistic art locally. Call Katrina today at 705-450-8099 or email her at discoverthecanvas@gmail.com to book your tattoo or consultation today.
Hi, it's Craig Hartsburg, former NHL player and NHL coach. Welcome to the Game Sports Sports Show.
Welcome back to the Game Sports Show. Yours truly, David McKeag, alongside Justin Heichel here live from Nova Superior Brewing Company in Sault Ste. Marie. And you're listening to the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national sports show on thegamesportshow.podbean.com, the website, thegamesportshow.com, and or on the YouTube channel, untitled under Scott Nason. And if you're on the website, though, like I said before in previous editions of the Game Sports Show, don't hesitate to veer over to the merchandise section of the show. $25 for t-shirts. And then the proceeds go towards Northern Careers Need and Big Brother, Big Sister for charities, and definitely a very sharp t-shirt to wear as well. You can wear it out anywhere for dinner, the gym, you can wear it to the bar, you can wear it to a hockey game, you can wear it anywhere. And what better way than to represent the Twin Sault's only local and regional and national sports show than on some mean swag. Now, as you just heard on the previous part of the show, Brad Cochimilio with the local hockey scene in Sault Ste. Marie. Much thanks to Brad for coming on by and taking the time in his extremely busy schedule. It is too bad that he is not live on location yet this year, but he will be soon enough. And there's a cold brew here on behalf of Nova Superior Brewing Company waiting for him. And like we said in this segment with Brad, that we will be on location at Thunderbird games and Sault Ste. Marie Greyhound games this season. We plan to be at both Thunderbirds and Hound games this weekend. So if you see Justin and I, do not hesitate to come say hi, take a picture with us, or just if you want to get some sound bites on the show, we can plug it into next week's edition on the Wednesday or Thursday edition of the show. But throughout the year, we're going to be having bonus uploads and bonus shows on the Game Sports Show with Sioux Thunderbirds and with pre and post game, and also with some player interviews, and also the same thing with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Now, Brad, moving on from the local side of things, though, bringing you back in here, we're going to be talking about the National Hockey League and from an updates and the Leafs perspective, and we're also going to be talking about the Major League Baseball playoffs, and we're going to close the show with the Khabib and McGregor news that we were unable to talk about yesterday, which is some big news, especially if you're a UFC fan. But as you said at the beginning of the show, Brad, or Justin, before we brought Brad on board, is there's been a lot of goals in the National Hockey League. And there's been a lot of good hockey games that have been played, and some teams are doing well that we thought were not going to be that hot, or teams that maybe not be winning a lot of games, but they're still looking pretty impressive. You know, you have the Ducks who are coming out of gate 3-0-1 after dropping a game to Arizona last night. We have Toronto, who was 3-1 after not surprisingly being an offensive juggernaut, you know, where their woes are in defense that we've talked about and stressed about for the past year, let alone the past couple of weeks. You know, you've had the Ducks wear their older uniforms, Curtis McElhinney fitting in very well in Carolina. And, you know, you have the Winnipeg Jets who are looking pretty good as well right now. Vegas, you know, they're kind of there right now. And you're also looking at some news from the National Hockey League. You have the Sedins have their jerseys retired by the Canucks next season. It won't be this year. So we got some news to talk about in the National Hockey League. So I'm going to let you take it away with some things that you kind of want to get off your chest.
Ron Hainsey.
That's where you want to
start with that.
Okay.
I mean, before you decide you're going to lash out at Jake Gardner for all of this.
I'm actually not going to.
You were thinking about it.
I was thinking about it.
But Ron Hainsey first.
Yep.
I don't know. He just looks old. That's my complaint, and I'm fascinated as to why Babcock comes in on the top line and gives him 20 minutes a night. It doesn't make any sense to me when you got younger guys in the back end. I mean, we've seen a bigger sample size out of Marinson. We know what he can do. But like a guy like Justin Hall, why not throw him up? At least let him play with Dermott a little bit more than 7 minutes.
Chemistry's there. They play together in the Marines.
Exactly. Like, why not let it happen?
So we're questioning Mike Babcock right now.
Well, it's the classic case of Mike Babcock's lineup management questioning, I guess. Is that where we're going with this?
Yeah.
There's just some things there's a reason to it. You gotta trust in the system, but if you're gonna pick on offense, like why is Johnson not getting more than a couple minutes a game? Why is he getting dumped into the press box? And the guy was one of the most electrifying players in the AHL, and you can't seem to make him work when you've got the two highest scorers in hockey right now and the highest scoring defenseman. You can't find a spot for the highest scoring player in the AHL to fit into your lineup.
You have right now Austin Matthews and Tavares that are literally going as expected. And you have Morgan Riley right now leading the National Hockey League defenseman in points. He had a 4-point night against the Dallas Stars. As we sit here at Northern Superior Brewing Company, the Toronto Maple Leafs are tied with the Detroit Red Wings 1-1 as they go into the first intermission. And we had Morgan Riley get the tying goal for Toronto on a beautiful one-timer. You know, Morgan Riley is looking pretty sharp right now with Toronto. And before, like you said, yeah, you know what? I was thinking about lashing out on Jake Gardner. But you know what? I'm not going to. I want to lash out and say, why in the fuck is Martin Rinson in the lineup? And that's not me pointing at Babcock. I guess maybe it is. I guess it kind of is. But still the continuous stress of what that D-core provides to my frickin' bones, to my blood pressure. I don't understand. The Leafs are not going to be able to score 7 goals a night each time. I know people are like, yeah, well, you got Tavares, you got Matthews, you got guys who are offensive juggernauts. Yeah, you're right. But there's going to be a couple of games where they might be like, you know what? I'm not going to be myself tonight. And you're going to have to kind of rely on the D-core to really keep a tight game closer. You have to rely on it. It's just a team game, you're right. But right now, that defensive core, Justin, is just not what is going to get it done. You can't, when you go against teams like Tampa Bay, you go against teams like San Jose, you go against those type of teams, winning those games 8-7, you're not going to win a 7-game series if you're talking serious playoff talk.
I'm going to quote Ken Hitchcock from earlier this week here, and it makes sense the more I think about it as to why some of these younger guys are in the lineup. But if you watched the game the other night and you're watching this game tonight right now, the Leafs get a ton of credit for how fast they play offensively, but they don't get any credit for how fast they play defensively. And I think that's where you need to have those young legs in the lineup, and that's probably why Hainsey looks so shitty out there, is because he's 2 steps behind all the time. I mean, the shot on his own net the other night drove me insane, but he's just a discombobulated old man out there with these young guys.
I mean, dementia kicks in sometimes younger.
What are you saying? He's like 2 years older than me.
No. Is he actually?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm going to look that up.
Like a producer goes to you to look that up quick. But at the end of the day, the Toronto Maple Leafs right now 3-1 after a big win in Dallas as they go into Detroit, who is currently winless on the season. And Toronto's power play, though, Justin, you started off with the Toronto Maple Leafs. You may as well continue with that before we go into some other points of the National Hockey League, before we move on to a couple other topics before we conclude our show tonight. The power play for Toronto. They were second in the league last year. This power play got better this year.
Yeah, I'd say they're first.
I think this is probably arguably the most scariest unit in the power play that we have seen in many years.
It's terrifying. Like I smile every time the Leafs go on the power play, because you just watch them go around out there and make whoever they're playing look like a fool.
Literally look like a fool.
But I mean, like Dallas's power play the other night was equally as terrifying.
Radulov, Sagan,
it was the same thing. It was based. That game existed on the power play. I mean, both teams, they just came out, they lit each other up, and waited until someone else took a penalty. And Bishop looked really good too. I mean,
even though he let in some goals, he still looked pretty sharp.
He looks a lot better than he did last year. He looks like he's finally settled in Dallas.
It's just the one thing. Dallas is finally, they went after Bishop with the intention of this being finally the guy, because goaltending has not been a strong point for Dallas. They tried to get Kerry Lettinen in there. You know, in that project obviously did not work out. Now you bring in Ben Bishop. A lot of question marks have been around Ben Bishop. You have Anthony Niemi that went there as well, that they thought was going to be successful. But you know what? When that was brought in, it wasn't really that as well. So the Dallas Stars bringing in Ben Bishop, there's a lot of reliance there that they hope that they're going to take him to the playoffs this year. And, you know, we're going back to Toronto, though, quickly, Justin. We did that game against Chicago. Austin Matthews and Patrick Kane having a little bit of fun when it came to goal celebrations. Were you a fan of that?
I think that just comes from those two training together in the summer.
They are buddies.
And that's hilarious. Like, I think it's funny. Matthews thought it was funny. I mean, this is the first time in a couple of, since Matthews has been in the Leafs, where you're starting to see some personality come out.
Yep.
And I don't think it's a bad thing. I mean, own it. You're probably one of, if not the best player in hockey right now. Like, I have trouble saying he's but he's definitely one of top 3 for sure. I mean, McDavid hasn't looked fantastic. Crosby hasn't looked fantastic. Who's looked better than Matthews?
Nobody. Tavares has looked good. Morgan Riley. But when you've got to talk positions here for defense comparison. But, you know, we came into this year with the question of Nylander not being in the lineup, and the reaction from a lot of fans right now is sit. Just sit. Fine, you don't want to play, that's fine. Sit. I'm sorry, I'm a fan of I've said this a couple weeks straight now, I'm a fan of Dubas standing put. You want $8 million, are you fucking insane? Are you insane?
The issue with this now, though, is that this is a battle that Dubas has to win. This is kind of a true test for him, I guess, as a GM. and kind of test his cojones a little bit. But if he caves, then every player going forward is going to expect the same leeway when they're negotiating a contract. If he doesn't stand put, especially going into a year where you're negotiating Marner's contract, Austin Matthews' contract, those two might be important.
Are they?
You'd think they'd be a tricky contract to try and negotiate.
Yep.
And so you'd want to kind of keep your cards close to your chest on that one. I think all this does right now is it makes Nylander look bad. I really do. And you're reading some of his dad's advising him and his agents advising him, well, maybe come out and put it out on the ice, and play. Show us what you want to do.
Literally,
sign a bridge deal and bet on yourself. Kadri did it.
And it worked. Paid off for him. Well, you got a decent payday.
Yeah, but Kadri signed that deal at the same time. In today's NHL, you can't compare contracts that you signed today to a contract you even signed yesterday because it's totally different. Like there was even 3 years ago where every good player in the league was getting 6 years, $6 million, and that was the same time Kadri signed his deal at $4.5.
Yep.
And you had guys like number one centers signing $6 million contracts. That was just the league at the time. Now we're 3 years removed from that.
And now it's a different National Hockey League. And like I said, 2 years ago at Sports Center Bar and Grill edition of the show, Matthews will not be more than $10 million. I'm still sticking to that. I'd be very surprised if he was. But moving on from Toronto, Justin, because we are, we've got about 12 minutes left here before we have to wrap up tonight's show. We got a couple more points to get into the National Hockey League, and there's a couple teams that I want to talk about. Now, as we sit here, there's games in progress that are going to be obviously resulted by the majority of our listeners when they listen. You got Boston playing Edmonton tonight, Colorado, Buffalo. You got New Jersey, Washington. You got Sharks, Rangers, Pittsburgh, Vegas. And speaking of Vegas, and Pittsburgh without Matt Murray for who knows how long. Could be a couple days, could be a couple weeks with the concussion there. But obviously they're trusting in their backup goalie with Smith and Majari back there, the youth. And, playing against Vegas right now, while we're talking, they're actually down 2-1 to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And they are Pittsburgh 1-1 to start the year. Vegas is 1-3. This was predicted by people that they might not be hot right off the start. There's still a lot of games left. This is only 5 games into the season after tonight. So you still got 77 games to go in the year, and a lot can happen. And I'm not doubting that Vegas can turn this around. But you know what? They don't look the same on that ice. They don't look the same. They don't look like that they were as hungry as what they were in the first couple games of last season. But again, we're only 5 games into the season.
I think people have kind of figured them out. And, going into last year, no one really knew what to expect. They kind of taken everyone by storm. And I think it was just kind of a show last year. Like, people bought in, I'm not trying to discount what they did, but I think it's very difficult for Vegas to try and replicate it when they've lost some key people. Like Neil. It's really hard to...
It's a different player Neil is in comparison to having Pacioretty on the team.
Well, yeah. Neil looked like he played with heart and cared about what he did.
Yeah.
Pacioretty is just a bum that played for the Canadians and could sandbag it there and no one cared.
Yep. Literally.
He's like a modern-day American Kovalev.
Wow. And you bring in Paul Stastny. I thought that would be a big adjustment, but it hasn't. I'm not saying it hasn't paid off, but Vegas doesn't look the same. That is for sure. New Jersey Devils, a team right now that starts year 1-0. We're still early for them. As the Washington, they're playing tonight. They're up 3-0 as we're in our broadcast right now. Against the Washington Capitals, it's 2-0 and 1. Washington, Toronto's opponent on Saturday, going to be Washington in probably a very high-scoring hockey game. We're probably going to be predicting on Saturday night. But
14-13.
New Jersey Devils, though, man, I'm not. I've never been a New Jersey Devils big fan, because the way they play. But this team is actually looking pretty exciting. Taylor Hall has found his obviously the success last year goes without saying, but this team in New Jersey looks like they could be even better than what they were last year.
I mean, it's still early. Like, this is what, game 2 for them?
Yeah, so
we gotta pump the brakes a little bit. The Leafs are 5 games in.
Yeah.
We'll see come the end of the year when New Jersey's making up games in April still.
Yeah.
If it benefits them or where it goes. But I'd like to see them continue off their success from last year. I think Taylor Hall's got a good thing going there. I think the Devils
found a home. He found a home.
I mean, they got a good goaltender there.
Yep.
Defensively, they're relatively sound. They got a good GM.
Yep.
I think it's a pretty good situation, and it's low-key media pressure there.
A little bit.
And that might be the key to success for Taylor Hall.
And it also is looking pretty good from another team that New Jersey knows who they've played against in the Stanley Cup Finals before. The Colorado Avalanche. You know, they've started their season. We're still early 2-1, and so is Buffalo 2-1. You know, but I've said it since the beginning of the year. I've got to watch out for Colorado this year. There's something about Colorado's squad that really sticks out to me, and McKinnon, you know, coming off a very successful year last year as well. But Colorado looking extremely fast, and they're up 3-0 on Buffalo right now as we have our broadcast. So Colorado, McKinnon, speed, looking very sharp.
I think Colorado's still one of the youngest teams in the NHL, if not the youngest. And I mean, they're the youngest team in the NHL that's potentially could make the playoffs this year and have the first overall pick in the draft.
Yeah, because of the Ottawa Senators.
Because of the Ottawa Senators. So I think it's all sunshine and rainbows and Avalanche there.
Yeah,
right now.
literally, Quentin Hughes might be coming to Colorado with Mile High City. That'd be absolutely insane. Other news in the National Hockey League, Curtis McElhinney finding his home with the Carolina Hurricanes. Good for him, looking pretty solid. They figured that he might go back on waivers. You guys are crazy. They're going to keep Curtis McElhinney this year. Let me tell you right now. That was an early prediction here. If they do keep him, they would be trading him to a team to get some value back because he's definitely worth it. Moving on, Nolan Patrick will be out for 7 to 10 days for the Philadelphia Flyers. A lot of rookies are really flourishing. You got one in particular, Pettersson with the Vancouver Canucks, looking absolutely like a stud as predicted. And you have Shea Weber, who skated with the Montreal Canadiens for the first time since his knee surgery today. And as I mentioned, the Sedins to have their jerseys retired by the Canucks next season. And Austin Watson of the Nashville Predators having suspension reduced to 10 games to 18 games opposed to the 27 games that he originally had down. So Justin, we're going to go to two more topics before we move on, and the one that I'm going to spearhead really right now is the baseball before I get your comments with the McGregor Khabib fight, as we only have about 7 minutes to go here. Milwaukee Brewers playing the Los Angeles Dodgers in the championship series in the NL, and the Brewers. Questionable pitching, decent, really good bullpen, but the bats have been really hot. Dodgers have pitching. They got studs. Are they in trouble, Milwaukee? I don't think so. I like this series. I think this series goes a distance. I'm very excited to see in Curtis Granderson, being a part of that Milwaukee roster as well. It's he's Christian Yelich is the guy, obviously, with the Milwaukee Brewers. And I really think Milwaukee, though, right now to get a win, they need to be strategic out of that bullpen. They got to utilize their. I think the lower part of the order has to be successful. I think they have to come out and get some good hits for the top of the order to turn around to have success against the Dodgers. Because when you're playing Manny Machado, you're playing Dozier, you're playing a lot of good studs on that team with the Dodgers. If they get behind early, they're going to be stuck behind early due to that pitching.
Well, I think Milwaukee's key to success here is getting hot. They have to come into this hot. They got to come out swinging. They've kind of got to put LA on their heels if they're going to win this series, because LA's got some big guns. Like they're.
Have you been hitting the gym? You got some big guns.
Wow, not like LA. Not those kind of guns.
No.
Not like that.
No,
I mean,
those are weapons. Those are legit nuclear weapons on that team.
It's just
so is Boston, though, and Houston, right? So all these teams.
I mean, if I had to guess it personally right now, I'm saying we're looking at LA, Houston, and it's just a formality for Houston to walk away with it.
I think that the big thing with the Dodgers is Kershaw getting the mound on game one, get ahead in the series. I think that's LA's mindset, right, to get ahead early.
I mean, I think LA has the power to overcome anything Milwaukee throws at them, unless Milwaukee comes out hot. I don't know. I don't think Milwaukee's got it. I really don't.
I mean, they are going in as underdogs, absolutely, in this series. But people don't really think of them really as underdogs because they're starting off at home. But, guys are squeaking out or beating the Cubs. But you know what? You got to be realistic here with these. The Dodgers are built for playoff baseball.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, like they're a killing machine for the playoffs.
They are. But speaking of a killing machine, the Boston Red Sox. The Yankee fans chanted they wanted Boston. Be careful what you frickin' wish for.
Did you see how empty?
Oh, and then when they got smashed 14-1.
There was no
I liked it. I'm sorry. I loved it. I loved it.
At least Leaf fans went to the games this season. We were getting Peter Horchak.
Do you remember?
That was.
And we had Mark Acabello as our first line centerman.
Like that
Or
was a
Bozak,
rough go,
sorry.
and fans still went to the games. These Yankee fans just pulled the chute.
Yeah, they don't get
Playoff game, we'll make it home for the hockey game. Bums.
But I like
Bums.
Boston's a better baseball team, man, and they used Christian Sale midway through the game. Perfect. Cora
I
had
basically have a public announcement here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to Boston Red Sox fans that I encompassed you in my shit Boston sports fan like little bubble, because you guys are all right.
Yeah,
Any Red Sox
Fenway
fan
fans,
is
yeah.
okay in my book. You
Yeah.
Yankees fans are bums.
Yeah.
Absolute bums.
You know, and I will say though, with Atlanta losing, Atlanta should not be hanging their heads. They're young. That team was young. That team's gonna win World Series. That's the future Blue Jays right there. I'm saying it right now because of the youth that are in Atlanta's system. So they shouldn't hold anything because they had a tough matchup against the Dodgers. Okay, but this Houston and Boston series is going to be unbelievable. Let me tell you right now, that series is also going the distance.
As the great poet once said, Terrell Owens, get your popcorn ready.
Mm-hmm. That's trademarked. We'll have to make sure producer Ghost can put that on. Yeah, you could. Moving on from baseball, as maybe actually I should mention with the first game between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Milwaukee Brewers, coming to you from Milwaukee with Clayton Kershaw and Gio Gonzalez on the mound. That's Friday, October the 12th at 8:09 first pitch, and you can watch on Fox Sports 1. And Houston and Boston play Saturday at 8. Milwaukee and the Dodgers also play Saturday at 4. And the Houston Astros and the Red Sox also play Sunday at 7. So weekend of baseball.
The Dodgers game starts exactly an hour and 2 minutes after the Greyhound game starts. For those people that like wacky start times.
Good point.
8:09 p.m.
8:09.
7:07 p.m. Well, it's 7:05 and 8:05 or 8:10. Fuck's sakes.
Why don't you just make it one certain thing?
No one like nice,
No keeps things
solid
simple, no.
numbers. Like
Moving on quickly because we only got limited time. McGregor, Khabib. Justin, I'm going to let you really wrap this up. I'm just going to say the point that I have to say. Khabib getting the win against Conor McGregor would be in the 4th round, 3 minutes in via submission with Conor tapping out. And Khabib, when he used to wrestle bears, obviously that paid off when he came up and beat Conor. But Khabib is now undefeated with 27-0. McGregor 21-4, losing the title to Khabib in the lightweight UFC 229. Get your analysis quick on the fight and also just the reaction after before we close tonight's show.
I mean, if you watch the fight, Khabib dominated, absolutely dominated the fight. I thought Conor had a couple good shots, but Conor looked like he'd been away from the game for a while. He didn't look quick.
Was that his first fight since?
That was his first fight. It was his first fight back since the Mayweather thing.
Yeah.
And it's pretty well almost 2 years away from fighting. And
almost 3 because when you think about training for boxing.
Well, and if you take into consideration, he walked back into the cage with probably the toughest guy in the universe, as far as I'm concerned.
This guy's a beast,
man.
man.
I fucking wrestled bears. Like, what? Who in their right mind just, I'm gonna go wrestle this bear, and then when I beat him, I'll go fight Conor McGregor.
He was a kid. He was 13 years old when he fought a bear.
Yeah, shit's weird in Russia.
And that's the thing. Look it up on YouTube. That is a thing. You wrestled a baby bear. Was it a trained bear? Sure, I think it was kind of a trained bear.
Who cares?
But
it's a fucking bear. Like, that's, I don't know. I think the rematch will be good if it happens.
I don't know after this debacle, which I kind of want you to talk about.
The debacle. Look at that.
Yes, debacle.
Debacle.
Oh, because of Khabib.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
No, they. I guess they both got suspended temporarily today while they investigate the incident. Khabib hasn't given his $2 million yet from the UFC.
Yeah, they're holding their checks.
In a tweet today, he told them to keep it, or an Instagram. I'm not sure, whatever.
Yeah, he got his belt
form of social media he's using to complain these days. But the post-fight melee was a little interesting when you caught it right off. You know, you're watching the fight, and all of a sudden, someone hops over the cage, starts pumping someone in the crowd. See Robert Kraft there and his 10-year-old girlfriend trying to run away. But I guess what came out in the news today, and I don't know if it's fact or not. I'm just going by what I'm reading here on Twitter that's coming to me right now. But Khabib had said that someone from McGregor's camp was throwing some racial slurs at him, directed at his Muslim faith and yada yada.
At McGregor.
No, at Khabib. Someone from McGregor's camp.
Okay.
And that's obviously been denied by McGregor's camp to this point, and maybe we'll know what happens, maybe we won't.
Yeah.
But you kind of hope that that's not the case. You almost want to think that it's some sort of WWE knockoff.
That's what I thought it was. That's what I thought it was.
As soon as he jumped over the cage,
that's what I thought it was.
I had the JR voice in my head, just like,
Yeah.
my God!
Yeah, and then Jerry Lawler and
like,
Jimmy Ross over there.
Somebody think of the children. But I don't know. You don't like to see it, but you can understand the tensions that were moving into that fight.
There's real hatred there.
Well, and maybe Conor took it a little over the top with his...
When doesn't he?
This shit with Mayweather. Mayweather doesn't care. Mayweather's in it to cash checks and not read.
And he beat him. And he beat him.
Yeah, well, and he won.
Pretty easily.
And McGregor maybe came into this a little more confident than he should have been. He submitted, which I thought he was going to get his head punched into the fucking ground. But he tapped, and when he tapped, it almost looked like Khabib was more defeated. Because he didn't get to break his arm, he didn't get to knock him unconscious, he didn't... And maybe that's what spurred the whole jumping into the crowd and going after someone else.
Really learning that you lose to someone who's truly maybe passing and better than you.
Well, and that's just... It could just be a passing of the guard in the UFC as far as McGregor's time is done. Maybe it's Khabib's time now. But given the fallout from this so far, it's looking like Khabib might go fight in Russia and you won't see him in North America again.
And that's fine. He'll take that check and run and hide.
Yeah, just go fight bears on pay-per-view. I'll buy it.
He would actually... I would love a match in the ring against Khabib. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'd pay $3 to see that.
How long do you think I'd last with Khabib?
Because it would take more money to get you to the hospital and whatever
think so?
disaster of a country we're in.
How long do you think I'd last in that ring with him?
Seconds.
Seconds, eh? It's literally seconds. Even after a year of
You
training.
know what? If someone wanted to pay me $3 million to go in there and get my head punched into oblivion by a guy who wrestles bears, I'll give it a go. My bank account can take a $3 million check.
Yeah, we didn't win anything with Catch the Ace.
No, we got to start from square one again, November 1st.
Oh, God, I bet your Boomer's excited about that from the Esquire. But anyways, Justin, we got to wrap up tonight's show. That is does it for tonight. I want to say thank you for coming on by. We'll see you on Wednesday because we do not have a show. I know you don't really participate on the Monday editions due to your schedule.
I did once.
You did once, and that was a good
There's
episode.
some delicious appetizers over there.
There was, but we don't have a show this Monday, so you won't hear the Game Sports Show until next Wednesday at Sports Center Bar and Grill, featuring the Panel 5 with our exciting show with Mr. Annick coming on by, Tommy Annick with the coach of the Core Colts, and with hopefully Intercontinental Inch coming on by. But Justin, thanks for coming on by here tonight at North Superior Brewery, and I know it's you being a part of the staff, you just come anyways, but we'll see you next week.
Oh yeah, I'll be here. We'll see you at the Hound game tomorrow.
Yes, the Hound game. The Hounds this weekend play North Bay and Kitchener. Kitchener tomorrow, North Bay on Sunday, and the Thunderbirds also play this weekend as well. So get your asses out to support some local hockey in the community. Check out their websites for some extra information if you would like. And also make sure you subscribe to the Game Sports Show, the Twin Cities' only local, regional, and national sports show. I want to give a shout out to Scott Nason, our board operator tonight, and also to you, the listeners, making us a part of your nights as always with the Game Sports Show. And I also would like to give a shout out to our sponsors, our additional sponsors, obviously here with Northern Superior Brewing Company. And we also have Sports Center Bar and Grill, The Wicked Sister, Pingator Cleaners, Northern Quitters Need, Big Brother, Big Sister, Discover the Canvas, North Shore Sports and Auto, The Salon, The Superior Pro Shop, and Ken Boulanger Hockey. And as I mentioned, we'll be back next week, Wednesday at Sports Center. We'll be at 9 p.m. And we will be back here at Northern Superior Brewing Company next week around 5:30 p.m. with some hopeful guests coming on by. But make sure you keep an eye on our ticker. And also on the Wednesday edition of the show, we will announce if guests and when they are coming by next week here from Northern Superior Brewing Company. Now, without further ado, keep your stick on the ice, swing your bat, catch your touchdown, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.